even if they weren't big manga geeks, weren't big Shonen Jump geeks, they've probably heard of these series for one reason or another. And last but not least, all of these series featured are available in America for all of you to purchase and enjoy. So the way this panel will work is we're going to go through 10 different classic Shonen Jump series. I'm going to give 3 hints. If you think you know what it is, put your hand up. After I give the third hint, I'll ask, what is it? And I want to hear from the audience what the series is. Unfortunately, I don't have prizes to give to those of you who know these series or can guess them correctly, but what you win instead is what I like to call Manga Cred. You get Manga Cred. You get that warm feeling in your heart that you know you know your stuff about Shonen Jump and manga. And also, we're also going to learn a whole lot going through this panel too. So when you're playing J-Star Victory with your friends and you see a character, you'll be like, oh, guess what? I know this sweet piece of trivia that I learned from the Classics of Shonen Jump panel. So I'm giving that to you. All right, are we ready to begin? Yeah. That doesn't sound very ready to me. Are we ready to begin? Yeah. All right, let's go. So, first series number 1, hint number 1. This was a debut series from one of the most legendary shonen mangaka in history. So that's pretty general, right? Number 2, in its second year of serialization, it won the Shogakukan Manga Award for a shonen manga. So this guy, in his second year of making manga, he wins the most prestigious manga award. Who could this guy be? Hint number 3, and for those of you who are Bakuman fans, you'd probably get this one. This series features a villain based off of the editor the mangaka worked with while drawing this series. It's a little tough. Let me see. Purple hair, is that helping out a little bit? What do you think it is? That's right, it's Dr. Slump. Give this guy a hand. That's right. So the first series in the Classics of Shonen Jump panel is, of course, Dr. Slump, Akira Toriyama's first manga series. And a great manga series, a classic example of gag manga from Shonen Jump magazine. And in many ways, I feel Akira Toriyama's best as far as art goes. You know, he's a great artist for all the other works he did for Shonen Jump, but in his first work, he really goes into great detail, and he shows a lot of breadth, a lot of ability to draw different things, and that's because, you know, this is a gag manga, and it does riff on a lot of different things, a lot of pop culture references. So if you take a look over there, you see him making fun of Golgo 13. You see him making fun of Superman. He makes fun of Astro Boy. He makes fun of a lot of classic Japanese pop culture icons. So for those of you who are geeks for Japanese pop culture in the 1980s, this is a treat for you because you get a dime a dozen with Dr. Slump. But you also get a lot of very creative uses of the comic page. You see Akira Toriyama over there show Arale poking the moon, and the moon sort of blowing away, turning what was day into nighttime. So playing a lot around with comic logic. Oh, and I realized I probably should explain what Dr. Slump is about. So Dr. Slump takes place in a world where there's a village called Penguin Village. And in Penguin Village is Senbei Norimaki, who is sort of it'd be too far to call him a mad scientist, but he's a crazy scientist. And one of the inventions he decides to create is a robotic girl who he names Arale. So a lot of the series around the start revolves around Arale's, getting acclimated to this new world. And of course, as you can imagine, being an all-powerful robot girl who knows nothing about the world, a lot of experiences are very awkward and thus very silly. So if you want to see a great example of classic gag manga from a master of gag manga, be sure to check out Dr. Slump, which is one of the series that we reprinted last year. So all volumes in print are now available to purchase, but they're all 18 volumes that are also available digitally. So you could buy the full series on the Right Stuff for Amazon.com or through the VIZ manga app. You could get this wonderful series from a classic creator. So that's 1 of 1. Good job, MomoCon. Let's see if you can get 2 of 2. This is going to be let's see, how many times have I done this panel at this point? I think this will be the 5th time I've done this panel. There's only been one time where a convention got all 10 series correct. So let's see if MomoCon will be number 2. So, series number 2, hint number 1. This series helped increase the weekly circulation of Weekly Shonen Jump in Japan to about 6.5 million in the period in which it ran. Just to put into perspective how big of a deal this is, in America, when a comic sells over 1 million, we make a big deal about it. It gets put on the New York Times. At this time, Shonen Jump was selling 6.5 million every week for a period of time. So it's crazy to think of how well the magazine was doing when this series was in the magazine. What series could it be? Number 2, when the graphic novel edition of the series was released in America, it was split into 2 different series. And then hit number 3, the beginning of this series was loosely based off the classic Chinese tale, The Journey to the West. All right, I see a few hands up now. All right, everybody, what is this series? That's right, Dragon Ball. Give yourselves a hand, MomoCon. You're 2 of 2. That's right. That's right. After Akira Toriyama finished working on Dr. Slump, immediately he worked on Dragon Ball, which is his most well-known work and arguably his masterpiece. So Dragon Ball, judging from the sound of everybody in this room saying Dragon Ball, I'm sure everybody knows what Dragon Ball is about. But for those of you who didn't start from the very beginning of the series, Dragon Ball started off kind of in many ways still as a gag manga. You know, Akira Toriyama was just coming off of Dr. Slump, so he was still used to drawing comedy, still used to focusing on comedy. And he focused on a bit of comedy with some martial arts action in the series Dragon Ball, where Goku travels with Bulma to find the 7 Dragon Balls, which grant you any wish you want from once you collect all 7 of them. And the series sort of revolved around the hunt for the Dragon Balls at the very beginning, but then it slowly evolved to involve more battles, more action, and then into the full-blown science fiction martial arts epic that we all know and love today. So when you read Dragon Ball, especially if you read Dragon Ball from the beginning to the end, you get, once again, Akira Toriyama's excellent ability at drawing comedy, but what you also get is what I think stands out the most with Akira Toriyama and Dragon Ball. You get the action that you see in Dragon Ball. Like, take a look over here, that fight between Goku and Vegeta. Like, you could see very clearly what's supposed to happen in the action scene. You see where the punch is supposed to be thrown. You see where he's supposed to be flying. You see excellent use of speed lines. You see where the character's supposed to be flying. And Akira Toriyama does this with every action scene he does in Dragon Ball, the manga. I feel that's something that stands out with him very much. In many ways, I think he made it easy for the animators when they decided to animate Dragon Ball from a manga into an anime. They didn't have to scratch their heads and wonder what was happening in this action scene. It was very clear what was happening in the action scenes because he was just such a master at drawing these awesome action scenes. So many of us know Dragon Ball Z as an anime, but if you haven't read the manga, please check it out, because you are getting something special. You're getting something that I think is still unmatched today as far as action and Shonen Jump manga goes. And if you want to collect Dragon Ball in the manga format, it's really take your pick. We have so many different formats for this series. So we, of course, have the single volume editions that separate Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Those are available in print and digital. But we also bound them up into the VIZ Big edition, which has the manga in a larger trim size. So the pages are bigger. You get Akira Toriyama's awesome art in a larger size. And you also get color pages. So that's probably one of my favorite ways to collect Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. We also have the Dragon Ball 3-in-1 edition, which is coming out now. That's what's unique about this one is instead of separating the series as Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, we have it all in one series, just like they had it in Japan. Also, what's great about it is that you get a value price. You collect more manga for a lower price when you get the 3-in-1 edition. And last but not least is one of our newest and one of my favorite ways to collect Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball full color manga, specifically with the Saiyan arc. So this one has the pages in the largest size that we've ever printed Dragon Ball manga before, but also with beautiful color. And really, when you take a look through this, you'll see page after page. It looks like a poster. It looks like you're not buying a manga when you buy this. You're buying a book of cutout posters. It's really an awesome piece. So we want to collect Akira Toriyama's masterpiece. It's available in many awesome formats. So that was series number 2. Moving on to series number 3. Hint number 1. This manga series was one of the most influential shonen series to use the Bishonen aesthetic. So very pretty boys in this series. Number 2, this manga led to several successful lines of action figures. And number 3, this series had a new anime adaptation start in the spring 2015 season. Anybody guess? What do you think it is, sir? That's right. Give him a hand. It is Saint. Oh, sorry. Hold on one second. I pressed the wrong button. All right, now give him a hand. Yay! That's right. The series was Saint Seiya. So this, as I said, a series with pretty boys, a series that heavily used the Bishonen aesthetic. I wouldn't say it's the first series in Shonen Jump to use the Bishonen aesthetic, especially because Masami Kurumada had a few series in Shonen Jump before Saint Seiya. But it was definitely probably one of the most popular to use this aesthetic. If you take a look at a lot of the anime and manga that came out in the 90s, series such as Gundam Wing, series such as Ronin Warriors, series that featured a group of pretty boys fighting together, a lot of those were inspired by Knights of the Zodiac, Saint Seiya, which is a series that was about a group of pretty boys who all went off into different countries to train to get the rights to use the powerful battle class, which is a suit of armor, the suit of armor that inspired a lot of awesome action figures that give them special powers, which they use in countless battles, first amongst themselves in a tournament. Shonen Jump, come on, you got to have a tournament, right? So they start off with a tournament right off the bat. Then it goes to them fighting other stand users. Then they're fighting against Poseidon, and then they're fighting against Hades himself. And it's nonstop battle. It's one after another. Basically, really like Monster of the Week format. I compare it to I call it like a Bishonen Sailor Moon in many ways. It's a really good way to think of Saint Seiya. So what I get the most out of Saint Seiya is, of course, looking at the awesome classic art. This is great Shonen Jump manga from the mid '80s to the early '90s. So you definitely get a lot of that, but also just seeing where it's a great historical piece, seeing what inspired a lot of the character designs that would come in Shonen Jump later. It's common knowledge. We all know this. People who go to anime conventions know this. Those shonen set means young boy. The fans aren't only young boys. In fact, I'd say at the very least half of the audience of Shonen Jump manga in America and probably in Japan too are female. And in series like Knights of the Zodiac, Saint Seiya was Shonen Jump really owning up to that fact and making storylines and characters that catered to that fan base. So read Saint Seiya to see a classic example of Shonen Jump doing that. So we have Knights of the Zodiac, Saint Seiya available as a digital exclusive. It previously was in print, but at this point in time, it is only available digitally. But it's available digitally wherever our digital manga is available. So whether you get your digital manga through the VIZ manga app or Comixology, you could collect all 28 volumes of Saint Seiya, series number 3. All right, MomoCon, you're doing great. That was 3 of 3. Let's see if we get 4 of 4. So the mangaka of this series had an earlier work that was published by Viz Comics back in the early 90s. That's a really obscure hint. I'm really sorry I gave that one. If anybody could get this off of that one, you get mucho cred. Number 2, though the run of this series is finished in Weekly Shonen Jump, it is technically still ongoing in a different magazine. In fact, I debated whether or not I should add this here because of that. And hint number 3, a character from this manga series was featured in a Gucci store display along with other illustrations from the mangaka. Oh, what do you think it is? That's right, give him a hand. It is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He's pulling the team. So yes, series number 4, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a series that has skyrocketed in popularity these past few years after the new anime came out. But before it was an anime, it was an awesome manga in Shonen Jump magazine that started in the mid-'80s. So JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, in a nutshell, is a manga series that's about the Joestar family through the generations, battling different evil as they come about, starting with Jonathan Joestar battling against his stepbrother Dio, then his grandson Joseph Joestar battling against the Pillarmen, and then his grandson Jotaro Kujo battling against Dio once again and his group of evil stand users. And just taking a look at the art over here, this is what I think stands out best about, of the great things of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The one that's most obvious is how great of an artist Hirohiko Araki is. He had another series that was in Shonen Jump prior to this, but it's really JoJo's Bizarre Adventure where his art really started to shine, as you can see over there, even right from the start. Like, it develops as he goes on, but from the start, he shows his awesome skills as an illustrator with the Phantom Blood arc, Part 1. And as the series goes on, it also really lives up to the name Bizarre. Part 1 starts off as a very, sort of a typical shonen in many ways. The good guy battles against the evil guy. He makes friends along the way. He gets special abilities to defeat the evil. But Part 2 is where JoJo's Bizarre Adventure really starts to develop its charm of being a bizarre manga. It gets very silly. The comedy gets upped there. The strangeness of it starts to come up in Part 2 also, and it goes full blown in Part 3. So any fans of Stardust Crusaders in here? All right, so for those of you who haven't read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or seen it, maybe you want to start from the beginning and then work your way up to Stardust Crusaders, because in Part 3 it just gets full blown weird. Like you'll have battles against like an orangutan. You'll have a battle where the two of the characters get turned into babies and they have the battle as babies. So one thing that can be said about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one battle is not like the other. You're getting something different every time you run into another battle, and I think that makes that manga just that much better. So we have released all of Part 1 digitally. Part 1 has 2 volumes available in print, and of the books that we've printed, as a company, I have to say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of the ones that I'm particularly proud of. It's in a beautiful hardcover. So here at the convention, the Anime Pavilion booth has JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood in hardcover. So if you haven't seen it, take a look at it, because it's an awesome way to collect this awesome manga. And we'll also start to release Part 2 in the hardcover edition as well come November. And of course, Part 3 is actually the one that we started publishing way before we ever published Part 1 and 2, about 10 years ago at this point. And that has all 16 volumes available, both in print and digital. So a lot of JoJo for all of you to collect. So that's 4 of 4. Let's get to series number 5. So, hint number 1. The mangaka of this series was good friends with Akira Toriyama, an artist who he ended up collaborating with a few times. Hint number 2. The mangaka of this series was also the character designer of the anime series Tiger and Bunny. So he's an awesome illustrator. Hint number 3. This was the only weekly Shonen Jump series to appear in VIZ's manga magazine Animerica Extra. Oh, I see a hand back there. Not Bleach, not Bleach. Not One Piece. This is a series that finished in Shonen Jump already. It's a romantic comedy. Let's see, old school romantic comedy. For those of you who've been collecting manga for years, this was like Animerica era. All right, this series is Video Girl I. Anybody here remember that series? Okay, so a few old school fans here. So Video Girl I is a classic example of romantic comedy in Shonen Jump. So a lot of the series that I've talked about, basically all of the series I've talked about so far, except for Dr. Slump, have been Shonen Jump battle manga. But Shonen Jump magazine is a manga magazine that has a variety of different types of manga, and romantic comedy is one of the genres that's definitely been touched upon in a lot of Shonen Jump manga. And one classic example of that is, of course, Video Girl I by Masakazu Katsura, who's the mangaka of other series such as Aisu, such as Zetman, his latest work. And of course, also he was also the character designer of Tiger and Bunny. But before he did any of those series, he worked on Video Girl I, which is a series about a boy named Yota who has always been on the short end of the stick when it comes to romance. Girls typically didn't like him. They usually fell for his best friend instead. And the girl he cared about the most also fell into that same pattern. She fell for his best friend, and his best friend didn't feel the same for her. And Yota, rather than feeling sorry for himself, felt sorry for her. And it was those noble feelings that made it so that he gained access to the Gokuraku video store, where in the video store he got a video which he put into his VCR. And what happened after he put the video into his VCR is I jumped out of the TV, which let's pop up the presentation on screen. You see her jumping out of the TV over there. So she went from the video into real life. And what was supposed to happen is she was supposed to be sweet. She was supposed to be really, helpful to him to get through these hard times. But since the VCR was broken, instead she was really snarky and sassy and not at all gentle and subservient like she was supposed to be. So she starts living with Yota. You know, she does try to help him out a bit, but in the process, she actually starts having feelings for him. Yota, in turn, starts having feelings for her while still feeling for other girls, and it just becomes a complicated, bizarre love triangle afterwards. So, and then as it goes on, it actually becomes less romantic comedy and more just drama. But once again, an excellent work of romance. And what makes this even more special as a manga are two things, and they're both related to Masakazu Katsura's ability as an artist. One is just take a look at the art. He's an awesome illustrator. You know, you could see why he was given illustration work, character design work, because he's just such a master at drawing, which lends very well to a series like Video Girl Ai, because it's a series with a ton of fan service. So if you want to see a classic example of fan service from the early 1990s, fan service that probably inspired your favorite ones of today, take a look at Video Girl Ai. So that's one way that Katsura's art shines in Video Girl Ai, but the other way his art shines is through his decompression, meaning his ability to lay out panels in a way, in a cinematic manner that really makes the emotions hit home that much harder, which I think is very important for a romance story like Video Girl Ai. So, you know, there will be moments of silence in the panel. There will be moments showing the emotion changing on a character's face in the manga. So masterful use of decompression, which I think is still unrivaled today. So check that out with Video Girl Ai, which, despite being a series that we printed more than a decade ago, we actually still have volumes in print of this series. But if you want to get it digitally also, Video Girl Ai is available pretty much everywhere we sell our manga. But on the VIZ manga app, since it is a mature series, you can't buy it off of your phone or your tablet, but rather you have to go onto the browser to buy it that way. But it is available. So if you want to check out this awesome series, available completely in print, also available in digital. All right, we reached the halfway point. So 4 out of 5, not bad. That's still good. You're still ahead of basically every other convention, except for the one that got 10 out of 10. So let's see if we can get 9 out of 10. So, hint number 1. The mangaka of this series spent time working as an assistant to Tsukasa Hojo, the mangaka of City Hunter and Cat's Eye, which means that this guy is a very detailed artist. Hint number 2, geez, look at that one. The mangaka of this series is highly decorated, having won a Shogakukan Manga Award, a Kodansha Manga Award, an Osamu Tezuka Culture Award, and an Excellence Prize at the Japan Media Arts Festival, meaning, long story short, he's one of the most celebrated mangaka in Japan. Celebrated as more of general artist sometimes, rather than just a mangaka. And hint number 3, this manga series influenced many in Japan and many in other Asian countries to take up the sport featured in the series. So when you think classic Shonen Jump sports manga, what series do you think? Slam Dunk, that's right. Give him a hand. Good job. So yeah, the series is Slam Dunk by Takahiko Inoue, the mangaka of series such as Vagabond, a well-celebrated samurai series, or Real, a wheelchair basketball series. But before he worked on those series, he had a series in Shonen Jump magazine with Slam Dunk, which, even though we're in an era where Shonen Jump is known for awesome sports manga such as Kuroko no Basuke, such as Haikyuu, before any of that was Slam Dunk, which I think to this day is probably still the most successful sports manga published. A sports manga that revolves around the Shohoku basketball team, especially Sakuragi Hanamichi, who was sort of this thuggish figure who didn't really care much for basketball, but he decided to take up the sport because the girl he fell for loves basketball. In fact, her older brother is the captain of the basketball team. So the series at the start revolves around Sakuragi getting used to being part of the basketball team, getting used to being a team player, getting used to playing the game. And as it goes on, it becomes about the basketball games, which are downright awesome. Like I discovered this series years ago in the Philippines, and at the time, I was like, I'm not a sports fan. I don't care for sports. I'm an anime nerd. But I love this series because one of the great things about Slam Dunk, besides the action, is development of awesome characters. The reason why I cared for the game so much is because I cared for the characters. The comparison I like to make is like, say you're in high school and you have friends who are on a sports team, a sport you might not necessarily care for that much, but you care for your friends, so you end up cheering for them. That's sort of the feeling I got out of watching Slam Dunk. And in the basketball games, they are great. Takahiko Inoue is excellent at making the sport accessible, explaining what's going on. So there's no moment where a game is not exciting. So though, in some ways this is kind of like a battle manga. They're not fighting each other, but they're battling with basketball. And when you think of it in that way, this one's really has some of the best fights that have been seen in Shonen Jump magazine. So you want to see a classic sports manga done by a master artist, be sure to check out Slam Dunk, which at this point in time is a print exclusive. So as I said, not all of our series are available digitally. This is one of them. Fortunately, it's not available digitally. But it is all available in print. This is a series that we reprinted many volumes of last year. It's available for all of you if you would like to collect this great series. And I do suggest collecting this awesome series. It's a really easy series to tear through. It's a really fun series to tear through. So check out Slam Dunk. All right, next series. So we're in the 90s now. So it's at this point where a lot of these series are the ones that are the most familiar to us in this room, because for many of these series we've seen the anime adaptation for them, and I think that might be the case with this one. So let's see who can get this. This manga was one of the launch series for the English language weekly Shonen Jump magazine. So who got the magazine back in like 2003, 2004? All right, if you did, this is definitely a series that you've read or at least looked at. Number 2, around the same time that this manga debuted in the American weekly Shonen Jump, its anime adaptation aired on Toonami. Number 3, the mangaka of this series married one of the most popular and influential shoujo artists. All right, I see a few hands up here. All right, yell it out. What is this series? That's right, it is Yu Yu Hakusho. Give yourselves a hand. All right, actually, before I go into talking about Yu Yu Hakusho, let me test MomoCon's cred. So, who's the mangaka that Yoshihiro Togashi's married to? That's right. It is the artist of Sailor Moon. Naoko Takeuchi, the artist of Sailor Moon, is married to Yoshihiro Togashi. So, how could you have a more powerful manga couple than that, right? But on to Yu Yu Hakusho. So Yu Yu Hakusho, at the time, this was a time where the magazine was really stacked. I mean, can you imagine a time where you're reading Shonen Jump magazine, and in that magazine you have Slam Dunk, you have Yu Yu Hakusho, you have Dragon Ball all together? It must have been a great time to be a young person in Japan. And of course, going back to Yu Yu Hakusho, this was one of the most popular series at that time. A series that started out being about Yusuke Urameshi, who was a misunderstood, thuggish individual in his community. But his last act alive was saving a kid from being run over. So when that happened to him as a ghost, he sort of accepted his fate. He said, "I'll move on." But he's told that he's been given a second chance at life if he does good deeds for the spirit world. And the first 2 volumes are kind of like these fun episodic pieces about him and Botan helping people out in the living world. And if you never read any volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho, if you say, I've seen the anime, I know the story already, read the first 2 volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho, because a lot of those moments of Yusuke as a ghost helping people out were not covered in the anime, so you are getting something that you haven't seen in the anime. And of course, when Yusuke comes back alive, he's still an agent of the spirit world, and that's where Yu Yu Hakusho becomes the awesome demon-slaying manga that all of you know, that all of you probably, if you're like me, discovered through the anime that was showing on Adult Swim and then later on Toonami. So one thing that I think is really great about Yu Yu Hakusho, and I guess Yoshihiro Togashi's works in general, is that the battles here aren't repetitive. I think, I talked earlier about how JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Hirohiko Araki's works have a lot of great battles, a lot of battles that are very creative and not repetitive. I wouldn't surprise me if Hirohiko Araki's work inspired Yoshihiro Togashi, because Togashi is also a master at doing great battle works, battles that are not repetitive. The characters will, of course, have their special abilities. Yusuke will have the spirit gun, Kuwabara will have the spirit sword, but they have to use them in creative ways when they fight against different enemies. Like, there's a long-running part of the series, the Dark Tournament, where it's battle after battle. And you would think that can get stale and boring, but it doesn't, because Togashi's just so good at making awesome battles that are fun to read, battles that are fun to look at. So another great classic work of Shonen Jump battle manga with Yu Yu Hakusho. So this is a series that we have all volumes available for in print. It's a series that ends pretty quick with 19 volumes. We also have it available digitally. So however you like to get your manga, you can also get Yu Yu Hakusho. All right. All you got that. We had a lot of people who got that one. I think we'll also have a lot of people who will get this one too. So hint number 1. The mangaka of this series worked as an assistant for Takeshi Obata, the mangaka of Death Note, prior to working on his own series. That's one of the things I love about Shonen Jump manga, is that, one artist trains another, and that artist trains another. This manga series was not only adapted into a successful anime series, but also several animated films as well as a live-action trilogy. So a live-action trilogy that's not Death Note, what could it be? I wonder if it came out recently. Hint number 3. The anime adaptation of this manga series aired on Toonami at the same time as Yu Yu Hakusho. All right, what do you think it is? All right, it is Rurouni Kenshin. Give yourselves a hand. So yeah, I have fond memories of going home and watching Yu Yu Hakusho and then watching an episode of Rurouni Kenshin, which is, to this day, the most well-known work of samurai manga in Shonen Jump magazine. So Rurouni Kenshin is a series about Kenshin Himura, who is an assassin in a war in Japan. But after that's over, he takes an oath of peace. He doesn't want to kill anymore, so he gets a reverse blade sword so that he could still use his samurai abilities, but he can't kill anybody with his sword unless he's very creative with it. And then he finally settles down in the village where Kaoru, who is a teacher of swords herself, lives. And you'd think that would make, for a peaceful life for Kenshin, but it's not the case. He has to help people in the local community, and eventually he actually has to save Japan altogether with his abilities. So it's a great piece of historical fiction. This one, despite being historical fiction, does get pretty fantastical. So it's still a lot of fun. It's still really neat to take a look at. But what I think stands out about Rurouni Kenshin is it's something that's similar to what I think stands out about Dragon Ball. I talked about Akira Toriyama's abilities at drawing action scenes, and how Dragon Ball is one of the best action manga in Shonen Jump magazine. I think Rurouni Kenshin also is one of the best action manga in Shonen Jump magazine. So if you take a look at the presentation over here, check out that battle over there on the far left between Kenshin and Sanosuke. So it's just such an awesome picture to look at. It's dynamic poses. You could see the emotion on Sanosuke's face, and that's really like how Nobuhiro Watsuki lays out his action scenes and what's amazing about them. And this manga is full of these type of action scenes. So you want to read a great manga with great characters, awesome battles. Rurouni Kenshin really is one of the best that you can take a look at even today. And this is a series that we have available in 2 different formats. One format being the single volume edition, which finishes this awesome series in 28 volumes, in which all volumes are available, both print and digital. But we also have the VIZ Big Edition, which is similar to the Dragon Ball VIZ Big Edition, in which we increase the size of the page so you can take a look at Nobuhiro Watsuki's awesome art in a bigger format. You could see the details, you could see the battles in a bigger picture. So this is probably, like, if I had to make a suggestion, this is the way to collect Rurouni Kenshin. Oh, question. Who can name a popular Shonen Jump artist that was actually mentored by Nobuhiro Watsuki? Let's see. I'm not sure about that one. You might be right, but I don't know. This is all right. What's the best-selling manga out there? That's right, One Piece. So yeah, Eiichiro Oda actually was mentored by Nobuhiro Watsuki. So I talked about how awesome it is that there's this sort of lineage of Shonen Jump mangaka, helping, training another Shonen Jump mangaka. Takeshi Obata, who did Death Note, trained Nobuhiro Watsuki, who did Rurouni Kenshin. and then he trained Eiichiro Oda, who did One Piece. It's really an awesome sort of tree we're going with here. Who thinks that would be an awesome panel idea, like the Shonen Jump family tree? Just going down the list of who trained who. All right, so next series over here. So hint number 1. This manga was another one of the launch series for the English language weekly Shonen Jump magazine. So if you got those first few issues, this was one of the series that was there. Hint number 2. This manga has a few spin-off manga and anime series. And hint number 3 is just me giving this one to you all. This manga influenced the creation of one of the most successful trading card game franchises to date. All right, what is it? That's right, it is Yu-Gi-Oh! Give yourselves a hand. That's right. So, one of the most popular trading card game franchises to date. But before it was a popular trading card game franchise, it was a manga in Shonen Jump magazine. And actually had very little to do with card games at the very beginning. This series at the start was about Yugi Moto, who solved the Millennium puzzle, which was given to him by his grandpa. And the Millennium puzzle unlocks an evil spirit within Yugi. Maybe evil spirit's going too far. Definitely an anti-hero, because he would be really cruel, but only to the bad guys. So what would happen is he'd find wrongdoers. And he would have them do shadow games, and if they lost the shadow games, they'd have to have a penalty game in which they'd go insane, or they'd lose their vision, or they'd just die. So Yu-Gi-Oh was a pretty hardcore manga for the first few volumes. You see, the season was never here in America, and for good reason. There's a part in the manga where there's this guy who escaped from prison. So he has his prison tattoo. He has a cigarette in his mouth. He has a gun in one hand and a cup of whiskey in the other. So, yeah, the least child-friendly image you can think of. Definitely something that we wouldn't have seen in Kids WB. But then, of course, so Yu-Gi-Oh starts. It starts being about Yugi and the evil spirit stopping wrong where he finds it, and also about games in general. Like over there, you could take a look at them playing a tabletop game. They make up a lot of fun games at the start, but then it gets to the part that was most popular that the fans really took to, which was the Duel Monsters game in Yu-Gi-Oh, which was the longest arc and the arc that we're most familiar with, because that's what inspired the TV show we saw. The TV show with Pegasus, with Kaiba, with all of them, with Slifer the Sky Dragon, the parts that we're really familiar with. So what makes Yu-Gi-Oh stand out in my mind are two things. One is Kazuki Takahashi is an awesome artist. I mean, take a look at the presentation. Let's pop it up real quick. If you're like me, you found out about Yu-Gi-Oh through the TV show. But when you watch the TV show, you lose a lot of the awesome art that Takahashi is actually, capable of, that he can draw. The other thing that is great about Yu-Gi-Oh is that it's a lot of, I talk about creative battles. I talk about how Jojo has a lot of creative battles, how Yu Yu Hakusho has a lot of creative battles, and Kazuki Takahashi has a lot of creative battles with Yu-Gi-Oh as well, especially because he's at this point Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't an established trading card game, so he could kind of make up the rules as he went along. Like, for those of you who are card game players, you're not going to learn great strategies from reading Yu-Gi-Oh manga. You're going to see. So if you're like me, when you were a kid, people would say like, oh, this counts as 3 harpies instead of 1. It's like, what? No, it doesn't. The card doesn't say that. And you're like, oh, well, I saw it on a TV show and it told me this is how it's played. It's very wrong. It's very, very different from the way the actual card game is played. But in my opinion, it's actually more fun than the actual card game. So check out the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, which is a series that we did publish in a couple of different arcs. So we started off with the Yu-Gi-Oh arc, which was the first 7 volumes having to do with everything before it had to do with just the card games, in which it goes into the Yu-Gi-Oh Duelist arc, which is all about the card games for 24 volumes. Finishing off the series with Yu-Gi-Oh Millennium World, which is an arc about Yugi having to go to ancient Egypt to stop evil where it's starting. Another format that we're releasing Yu-Gi-Oh in is the 3-in-1 edition, in which we're collecting the entire series as just Yu-Gi-Oh. We're not separating it as Duelist or Millennium World, but rather just having it as Yu-Gi-Oh, the way it was published in Japan. So it'll end in 13 volumes. And that, since it's the newest edition, that's the one that's probably the easiest to collect. That's the one that you'll find in bookstores. That's the one you'll find in comic book stores. So But if you do want to collect the single volume editions, if you're really into collecting different covers, especially covers from an awesome artist like Kazuki Takahashi, we do have all the single volume available in print and digital. All right, so we're on to our last series. So we had all but one. Let's see if we get 9 out of 10 with this last series over here. So, hint number 1. The artist of this manga has mentored a few talented mangaka who later went on to create their own successful weekly Shonen Jump series. I may have actually mentioned this artist's name earlier. Hint number 2. This manga was the debut work of the writer, a series that she did not start writing until she was in her early 30s. And hint number 3, this manga series was credited for increasing the worldwide popularity of the game that it portrays, especially among young children. And that's a very key word over there. It's a game, not a sport. So what Shonen Jump manga about a game could this be? What do you think it is? Go ahead. No, go ahead, guess. Yeah, you guessed right. Come on, say it out loud. That's right, it's Hikaru no Go. Give this man a hand. Good job, MomoCon. You got 9 out of 10. Second place. So that's right, the last series over here, the 10th series that we're presenting in the Classics of Shonen Jump panel is, in fact, Hikaru no Go. So good guess. Yeah, so Hikaru no Go wasn't the first work by Takeshi Obata. Takeshi Obata had a work in Shonen Jump magazine well before Hikaru no Go, but this was his first breakthrough hit, the first hit that became extremely popular nationwide in Japan and extremely popular throughout Asia too. Like this manga series inspired a lot of young people in both Korea and China also to take up the game of Go. And a quick question to throw to the audience. So what are some other series Takeshi Obata is known for? That's right, Death Note, another series. Bakuman, that's right. All You Need Is Kill, his latest work. Well, no, not his latest work at this point, but he also did Gakyu Hote in Shonen Jump magazine. But a lot of awesome works from an awesome artist. And so as any of you who are fans of Death Note for sure know. And you get a lot of that great art with Hikaru no Go also, which is a series about a boy named Hikaru who is possessed by the ghost of a Go player from ancient Japan. And this Go player wants, nothing more than to play Go. So he has Hikaru play Go in his stead. And it kind of gets Hikaru into a bit of trouble because, you have this young boy who obviously doesn't know how to play the game of Go, beating actual Go players such as Akira Toya, who is an actual child prodigy at Go, which starts the rivalry between Hikaru and Akira. But as the series goes on, it's less about Sai wanting to play Go because Hikaru, in fact, wants to play Go himself. He's enjoying the game. He wants to get better himself. So it's really about Sai and Hikaru teaming up and developing Hikaru's untapped Go potential, his untapped Go genius. And this is one of my favorite Shonen Jump manga. It's a manga that I've read through about twice, or maybe 1.5 times. And through my time reading Hikaru no Go, let me tell you, I don't know how to play Go at all. This manga did not help me learn how to play the game of Go. So because of that, I would say that what makes Hikaru no Go great isn't the battles. I've been talking about a lot of the battles for a lot of the different series we went through. Slam Dunk, the games were great. Jojo, Yuyu Hakusho, the battles are great. Hikaru no Go, it does get action-packed, but I wouldn't say the battles are the best part of it, but rather the spirit of competition, I think, is what's great about Hikaru no Go. In fact, one of the things that is, Shonen Jump loves to have surveys, and in the past they had a survey asking fans what they like best about shonen manga, and they had 3 answers. One was they like perseverance, they like victory, and they like friendship. And those are the 3 pillars of Shonen Jump manga. Pretty much, like if you take a look at any Shonen Jump manga, you look really closely, you could find those those pillars there. You could see the friendship being developed in Naruto. You could see somebody training hard in Slam Dunk. You could see the victory when an enemy's defeated. And I think those 3 pillars shine very, very well in Hikaru no Go. It's a very emotional manga, a very great read. For those of you who like your works a little more slice of life, who like your works really emotional. I think Hikaru no Go is right up your alley. So check out this gem if you haven't read this series yet. It's a series that ends in 23 volumes. We have all volumes available both in print and digital. So however you want to collect Hikaru no Go, you can do so. So that's it for the classic portion of the presentation. Good job, MomoCon. Gives yourselves a hand. 9 out of 10. That's something to be proud of. No other, so last week I was at a convention, Fanime, where they got 10 out of 10. But they had way more people in the room. So, by default, it would be a lot easier. So for you guys to get 9 out of 10, great job. Before we go, I do want to talk about a few more things. One of those things, of course, being our current weekly Shonen Jump magazine. So we had the print magazine before. Now we have a digital magazine through our VIZ manga app where we deliver weekly content, weekly Shonen Jump content at the same time that it comes out in Japan. So we have a great lineup of Shonen Jump series that are currently in the magazine, such as Black Clover, a series that a lot of you Naruto fans will surely love, Bleach, Food Wars, Gakyu Hote, My Hero Academia, Nisekoi, One Piece, Toriko, and World Trigger. But we don't only have the Shonen Jump weekly series. We also have a few awesome monthly manga series that come from other magazines as well, such as Blue Exorcist, One Punch Man, Seraph of the End, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. And you get all of this, a year subscription, for only $25.99. So when you break it down, you're getting 200 to 300 pages of Shonen Jump manga every week for less than $1 per week. So it's a really, really awesome deal. If you're a fan of comics, if you're a fan of manga, and especially if you're a fan of Shonen Jump, I highly suggest subscribing to Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. And if you subscribe to Weekly Shonen Jump magazine before June 7th, so within the next week, you're put into the running for a contest to win Dvorak, King of Heavy Industry, which is a very rare Yu-Gi-Oh card that you could only typically get from winning a tournament. So this is, I guess, in some ways the easier way to get this awesome card. And speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh, we also have this awesome digital exclusive right now. We have a digital bundle sale through our Viz Manga app and through Comixology, where you get the first 7 volumes of this classic series for only $21. So a great way to start off a great series. And last but not least, I'd like to let you all know, for those of you who are here at MomoCon, there's an awesome convention exclusive poster with the Anime Pavilion booth. So if you go to the Anime Pavilion booth and buy $15 worth of Viz Media products, you could get either the Bleach poster or the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure poster that you see over here. Oh, I see. You got one? Awesome. Thanks, man. And if you buy $30 worth, you could get both posters. So an awesome deal for those of you who are here at the convention. For those of you at home who aren't at the convention, if you go through to other major conventions throughout the rest of the year, there's a good chance the Anime Pavilion booth will be there, and there's a good chance the posters will be there with them. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, everybody. You've been a great crowd. 9 out of 10, great job. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you found out about a lot of awesome series. I hope you start reading these series because all 10 of the series I presented here are excellent series. So yes, thank you once again. We have 9 minutes, so if anybody has any publishing related questions, any Shonen Jump related questions, I'm happy to take it at this mic over here. How's it going?
Hi. How's it decided which manga get put in the weekly or monthly magazines?
So that one, though I do work with the Shonen Jump manga, I don't work as closely with the actual digital weekly Shonen Jump magazine. So I'm less familiar with it. But what I do know is that they have weekly meetings. They talk about there's a lot of discussion that goes into it, what they think people would like based off of what's done well in the past, what they think, what they see people liking nowadays, and honestly, sometimes it's just a risk, they're like, we want to see how a sports manga will do, so they throw cross manage into the weekly magazine. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. I guess the easy answer is there's a discussion for it. Are you a subscriber? No. Oh, okay. Yeah, subscribe to the magazine, because one of the great things about the magazine that we're doing now is that we have this initiative that we call the Jumpstart Initiative. in which we take a lot of the new series that are appearing in Shonen Jump magazine and give it, a run of 3 chapters and then see what the fans like. Actually, one of the things that does contribute to what we choose are the surveys. For those who are subscribers to Shonen Jump magazine, there is a survey that you could take. You get the link at the end of the magazine, and then we do pay a lot of attention to those surveys. So that does also contribute to what we choose gets into the magazine. Thank you for your question. Hi.
Okay, so classic Shonen Jump panel. Actually, I have a quiz for you. What do you think I might going to ask about at a classic Shonen Jump?
Are you going to
panel?
ask about what was it again? Medaka Box?
Yeah, I can understand why you wouldn't, but it would be cool if you could bring that over.
No, definitely. I'm a big fan of bringing as much Shonen Jump manga as possible. We have we currently don't have any plans to bring that series over, but I think it would be awesome to see it one day. So thank you for sharing your suggestion. We definitely do take these fan suggestions seriously. So for those of you who follow us on Facebook and Twitter, never be shy about sharing what you think you'd like to see in America.
Thank you. Would you possibly, any chance, anytime soon, get the One Punch Man prints in America?
We have nothing to announce at this point in time, but believe me, if and when we do publish that in print, we'll make a lot of noise about it. Actually, do you follow us on Facebook and Twitter?
No, I'm sorry, but
no problem.
I follow, like, I just look up a bunch of stuff. Like me Okay, one more question I have.
Oh, sure.
Would it be possible for believe it or not, I am a mangaka myself. I have my own shonen series that I write up. Would it be possible for me to get my series published?
In general, or in Shonen Jump, or?
And like for real, legit going to Japan.
Oh, that one. Yeah. There's a few things you need to do. First of all, being able to speak Japanese. So yeah. I would, if you do, because if you want to make comics, there's a lot of ways to make comics, here in America. But if your dream and your ambition is to work as a mangaka in Japan, you definitely need to know Japanese. And have you heard of an artist named Philippe Smith? Take a look at Philippe Smith's art, because he's somebody who's he's from Argentina originally, and then he grew up in America, went to school in Chicago, went to Los Angeles, and that's where he learned Japanese. That's where he practiced his craft, and he actually did end up working as a mangaka in Japan. His work got published in a Japanese magazine, so it's possible. It's definitely possible. I would suggest taking a look at his interviews. If you could ever go to a convention where he has a panel, talking to him, because he did it. So, and if you really want to, you can do it too.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. One last question. How and why is Devilman a shonen? It seems to go more in the seinen category.
Are we talking about Go Nagai's Devilman, or?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm honestly not too familiar with that series. I don't know. It's in Japan. I guess the sensibilities are a little different sometimes. You'd be surprised at the crazy stuff that was in Shonen Jump magazine. I mean, To Love Ru was in Shonen Jump magazine. That's yeah. Your eyes are. Can you believe it? It was in Shonen Jump magazine. That was right there beside Bleach and stuff like that. So yeah. No, it's just yeah. I mean, Food Wars is in Shonen Jump magazine. So yeah. No, but I feel you. I see some things. I'm like, that looks more seinen than shonen to me. But hey, if it's in Shonen Jump magazine, it's shonen. But thanks for your questions.
What goes into what series that you convert to digital form? I noticed Slam Dunk was a bit conspicuous in that you only have it in print form right now. Rights, I guess, would be the easiest way to put it. We need permission first, whether it's through the licensor or the artist himself or herself. That's pretty much the determining factor. All right.
Otherwise, we'd like everything to be available to everybody as easily as possible.
Yeah, for me, it's space.
Oh, I
books
feel
take
you.
A lot more. So.
Yeah, I'm guessing you've been a comic collector for a while, and it's just too hard to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the digital thing, I've been really grateful about.
Oh,
so.
awesome. Cool. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, you've been a great audience. Thank you very much for being here at the panel. For those of you at home, thank you very much for watching the stream. Enjoy.